Hey everybody, second headphone video for the day. I'm going to talk to you about replacement earpads, and I know I talked a little bit about it in the mono price review, so if you like hearing about replacing earpads, there's not a whole lot to them, but I talk about them there, and you can check that out elsewhere on the channel. I've got a pair of AKG 553 Pros here, and they're naked. There's no pads on them. This is going to cover just the Brainwavz XL pads, and they're by far the most available, easiest to use pads. These are the Brainwavz XL. I also have the Brainwavz HM5. Somebody else borrowed my Brainwavz Round, and I have a set of the angled ones somewhere, but I don't think I'll have them in the video. But regardless, you can revive old and sometimes bad headphones by changing the ear pads. So if your ear pads get worn out, you wear them a lot, you got one pair of headphones, you use them every day, it's going to wear them down. And it's nice to know what kind of replacement options are out there for you. So these are my first pair of audiophile headphones, and I got these about 4 years ago at this point. So they've been through a lot. And I got these off Massdrop. I think they were like $100 bucks or something like that. So the stock pads were okay. They're very soft. They're leatherette. They weren't memory foam. They're a little bit shallower than these pads, so they sat a little bit closer to your ears. And the leather just wore through. And unfortunately, there was a little bit of tearing and stuff like that. So I figured I'd replace them. And the main thing you want to look at is how your pads are mounted. On these, you have a pad channel, a skirt channel, and this part of your pad, right here, is going to go inside this channel. And I thought the Status Audio headphones were the only headphones that had a pad mounting system, but that turns out to not be the case. The AKGs here also have it as well, although I think the Status Audio system is a little bit better. I'll show you how to use it. It's super simple, but it's definitely helpful for when you have gigantic pads and a very thin gap that skirt needs to go inside all the way around. Changing the pads, I would say overall you have a good chance of improving the sound signature of your headphones. It depends greatly on what headphones you have and what pads you choose. Pads like these leatherette pads match closely to the stock pads that came on these AKGs. So I don't expect a whole lot of change here, although I do think the extra distance, so you can see there's about an inch right here. The extra between half an inch and 3/4 of an inch, this distance, it pushes it away from your head. It pushes the driver away from your head a little bit. I think that'll widen the sound stage, and typically what I've noticed is that the mid-range will get unmuffled and, as my buddy likes to say, claustrophobic. So a lot of times when the driver's sitting really close to your head, you can hear it you can hear the sound compress in towards you, and it sounds a little claustrophobic. There's really not a good way to describe it besides that. So this widens them up, gives the headphones a little bit of room to breathe and space to play with. And typically, if you are using a leather pad like this, you'll get a little bit of a bass boost as well. So I think these pads will match up really nicely with these, and the sort of bronze finish on the AKGs and on the side here. I think it looks really nice with this red, so we'll put those on. And similarly with my HyperX, sorry this video is running out of space here on my desk. I need a new camera mount. So, get these guys out of the way for a second. The HyperX Cloud 2, I did the same thing, but notice that these are oval pads. And they're oval pads because these are oval shaped. They're not round. And again, these are closed back headphones, so I want to use leatherette pads with the HyperX and keep them closed. The sound will not leak through these pads compared to a velour pad. And you can get hybrid pads where they're just velour on the face and then leatherette on the side. So if you like the velour feeling on the side of your head, you can still use the leatherette part, and you'll get pretty close to a full closed sound with that, and with the hybrid pads. But honestly, I think that just the standard leatherette pads are generally your best bet. And they did the same thing for these. These were super close. The stock pads were so thin. I mean, the stock pads were about this thickness right about here. And this isn't pad, this is just a skirt. And then it was, I mean, just about 1/3 of what this thing is. Now they're huge and cavernous, and you've got that nice bass boost. The mids are elevated and much clearer. And there's a little bit of clearness with the treble now, but it didn't really have that problem before. But the mid-range is super, super improved on these now, because they sit so far apart and so far off of your head. So these pads made a mediocre gaming headset into a absolutely fantastic entry-level audiophile setup now. These HyperX, not to do a review on these or anything, but the HyperX Cloud 2 are based on the Takstar Pro 80, and you guys know I like the Takstar Pro 80 too. So the HyperX Cloud 2s are awesome headphones. Unfortunately, they don't have great pads, although they do come with 2 sets stock. These Brainwavz HM5 pads, the oval ones, are much, much better. And the cool thing is you can get them in a bunch of different colors and stuff. I chose the white because I've got some grayish white stitching on the headband and some silver accents. I think it's just a neat look. I like them a lot. Anyway, aside from just improving the feel and sound quality, the pads look nicer, just like I said. And I guess on these, you might need to watch with the skirt. I had to use a credit card to push the skirt in all the way around, because honestly, there was just no way to get this in there without it. But they do fit, and they're the right size and everything like that. So when you're picking out pads, take a look at your headphones, see what kind of pad mounting system they have. Gently remove your pads, and if you're unsure if you can remove them or not, try to look them up online and see if they're glued or if they use some sort of proprietary retention mechanism. A lot of headphones do that, but I would say an equal or greater amount have removable pads that you can just replace with something standard like these. So I like these a lot. Again, these are the Brainwavz HM5 oval pads. These are the Brainwavz XL pads. And really all you need to do with these guys, what you want to do is you want to take see if I can get this on camera, take the skirt part and just kind of slide it over that lip there. And you see how it's on one side and it's off the other. Now you want to rotate it towards that side. But that channel is going to push the skirt all the way around the headphone. And if you do it right, you should be able to feel it start to come around. And it just slides right on. So there's one. I'll do the other really quick. It's a little harder to do on camera. You want to do this gently, make sure you don't rip the skirt or anything like that. But it's really hard to mess up, so just be careful. Not every headphone has that, so if you do need to stretch them around, that's not a big deal. You can stretch them around, just be very gentle, and just take your time. But look how awesome these look. I mean, they didn't look like this from the factory, and you can look up the 553 Pro or the 550, and you can see what they look like. But I mean, yeah, they just look awesome now. And so actually, I'm going to put what I'm going to do is take this seam. There's only one seam on them, and I'm going to rotate the seam all the way down to the bottom of the headphone. And this one I think is towards the bottom too, so just so you don't see the seams all the way around. But I mean, these just look really, really nice now. I like them a lot. So yeah, pad replacements are an easy way to significantly improve your headphones. The XL pads right now are on sale for $24.50 a pair, and if you want to get the fancy dancy sheepskin ones, like these are the same XL pads in sheepskin, made of real sheepskin leather. They're very soft, very, very comfortable. These are around $40. If you want the HM5 pads, I think these are around 20 or 21. Again, huge upgrade. I mean, just look how slow this memory foam is. Huge upgrade from stock pads. These are just like pillows on your ears. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm of the opinion that pads will fix a lot of headphones, especially if you have just mediocre sounding headphones. I mean, if you can take a pair of mediocre headphones and make them more comfortable and sound a little bit better just by changing the pads, I would try it. And the best thing is, if you don't like them and you end up getting rid of the headphones anyway, throw the stock pads on and sell them with the stock pads. You can keep the other pads and try to find another headphone that fit them. Another thing, if you're going to use the round pads, a lot of people look at the round pads and like, okay, I'll use them on my AKGs or I'll use them on my my big hi-fi ends or something like that. Make sure you measure first, because the smaller round pads that I used on the CB1, for example, I have a couple pictures. I didn't do it in my CB1 review, but I used the smaller Brainwavz round pads, which are about this big. Not quite this full size, but they definitely would not fit on here. And I've seen people on like the Amazon reviews and stuff trying to stretch them over. Buy the right size pads, please. Don't ruin headphones or don't ruin pads just to try to get them to work. And there's a million pads out there. You don't need to use the Brainwavz. I just like them because they're accessible. They have a huge amount of colors. Brainwavz as a company is just awesome. I really like them. So if you have any questions about pads and what kind to buy and stuff like that, comment below. Hit me up on Discord. Check out the subreddit. We do a lot of server stuff on the subreddit, but feel free to post about headphones, post about, I don't know, gaming peripherals, whatever you want. Honestly, if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to post there. Ask me on Discord. Again, comment below. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon. If you would like to do that, you can click the link in the description. And I will link all of the pads here in the description as well. So again, thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.